to the Bulldogs, who have had a disastrous start to the season. Lots of questions about the Dogs. Interestingly, the captain today, Marcus Bontempelli, was talking about going right back to the basics for the Dogs in 2023.
I think we need to strip things back, like I said, to a couple of key aspects of the game that are super important. Really hone in on that and build from there. I don't think you can try and fix everything all at once. It needs to be a really simple focus. Probably, like I said, with the contest, with basic sort of skills and fundamentals, we've got a really skillful team, and I think we just need to get back to those things, and then let the more systematic things about our game sort of flow from there.
I think that's where it has got to for them with their efforts in the first two rounds. We're beaten by Melbourne, who had lost 4 key players in the lead up to that game, and then the way St Kilda, a decimated St Kilda with a manufactured forward line, just picked them apart. They've kicked 14 goals in 2 weeks. They kicked 5 goals under a roof at Marvel Stadium. So I think that's where it's got to for the Bulldogs. Their effort. Can you just bring effort, which is an indictment on a team we all thought could be top 5 or 6 Hutch?
And to call it bluntly, you blame the coach.
Yeah, I do, 100%. A coach's role is to maximise what you've got, be that individually with your players and to get the most out of your team. Now, he is failing to maximise the talent that he's got on the list individually and as a side. And this has been an issue for a long time for Luke Beveridge, and their defensive action is poor. They consistently rank in the bottom 8. So last year they were 15th for defending their defensive transition.
So the debate goes here, right? So if he's uncontracted right now, the pressure is even more intense, you'd have to say, than the 2 years to go. But do you think they made a mistake in extending?
If it's the wrong decision to extend him, it's the wrong decision, regardless of
whether there's pressure. Are you saying it is?
Pressure. Yes, at the time I said it, and now I'm saying I would much rather than wait to the halfway point of the year. What was the advantage of extending him when they did?
St Kilda were...
But that decision was already made, I think. He wasn't going to go anywhere. He must have used that as leverage.
They're the Beveridge years.
Exactly.
Never finished ahead of 5th in a home and away. Now, of course, we know and respect the premiership and the runner-up. Both have come from a lower position, in lower seed. But the home and away record there is 5th, 5 maximum, 13 minimum over an 8-year period.
And I don't think he's been a great ambassador for the club either, Cara. I think some of his comments in the last 2 seasons have been bizarre, and that started with round 1 last year with the blow-up with Tom Morris. He made some questions after the Gold Coast about some tactics that were non-existent, and I just don't think he has sold the club as well as he should have in his role.
What about the premiership and the grand final?
It's a long time ago. Like
a grand final was two years ago.
They're 19 points up and they lose by 74.
Yeah, but still,
that was a pretty confronting
The behaviour after round 1 last year was embarrassing. And the big question for me, and you talk about playing talent, so many players from that 2016 premiership team have left the club. Now, we know there's mental health, we know there's retirement.
No, they wouldn't look back on with regret any of those
departures,
yet, though.
are they?
None of them have had a big impact anywhere else, really, when it's all said and done.
Well,
not significant impact.
Josh Dunkley, that departure was unattractive. It was unattractive from both sides. He was bad-mouthing the club was bad-mouthing him. Very rare to see a coach so critical as Luke Beveridge was of Jake Stringer when he left the club, and Stringer's had one brilliant season at Essendon. Dollhouse also, there was a bit of bad blood. I just wonder about those relationships. I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah, he denies there's any problems with the players and says that he's still very much got the players. So you have a different view to Kane a little bit, and you think that it's fixable?
I'm with Kane. I think they should be playing better than they are. I thought they were disappointing last year. I didn't like their ball movement on the weekend. I'm more giving him some credit for what a tough industry this is, and to win a premiership and make a grand final 2 years ago. Yeah, I think he's done some wonderful things. And
does it buy you a bigger discount or longevity at a club that hasn't had a lot of success?
They've often been poor at stages, but he's found a way to get his team going. So that's why I'm not ruling out Luke Beveridge doing it again this year with what he's got. But what I am saying is that they looked like spooked on the weekend. They couldn't move the ball. This is a St Kilda side that's been under Ross Lyon for one off-season, and this isn't how teams are playing at the moment. And they went into their shells. They were 4 or 5 goals down at quarter time, and that's just not how the best sides are playing.
Was Luke Beveridge out-coached?
There's no doubt the pressure that the Saints brought right from the first bounce had the Bulldogs off from the start.
To your point, that's where I think Bontempelli, and if you listen to Luke Beveridge's comments after the game, they're confused because so many areas are going wrong. So offensively poor, defensively being poor for years, and they concede so many goals in a row. So if you look at this, since that grand final performance, they're the 4th worst in the competition for conceding 4+ goals. So to your question, is that a coaching thing? How do you halt momentum? How do you instruct your players what to do in certain scenarios? scenarios, they've been unable to halt momentum. And to compare them with North Melbourne and West Coast and Adelaide is a pretty strong stat.
On the flip side of the Saints, you're too hard on St Kilda. Like what they've done with that list.
No, I'm giving them
in the first
a lot
2
of
weeks.
credit for what they've done in the first 2 weeks. I wonder whether it's
you give them
sustainable.
no chance of continuing that, do you?
No.
Well,
No.
I mean, that exposed evidence of 91 points
Do
conceded.
you think they'll make the 8?
No, but they're going to improve. They're going to get 8, 9 players back.
Well, they
into
were
that
pretty
team.
good last year. They won 11 last year, so do you think they'll improve on 11?
Yeah, I think that's probably achievable from here, 11-ish. But they're
Well, they didn't sack a coach 3 months after re-signing him to finish outside the 8, is my point. And that
But
was
I think
the
everyone,
comments that they made.
me especially, thought they'd go backwards to go forwards. This has been a tremendous first 2 rounds.
Yeah, I didn't think they thought that when they made the decision to sack Brett Ratton, and they said that this list is better than what we've shown and we don't want to get stuck from 6th to 10th. So that was my point in the pre-season, and I stand by it.
But all you want, though, is to turn up and your team
Which I'm
delivers
loving,
what
by the way.
Ross Lyon's team's delivered the last 2 weeks.
They've got the spirit back in the place.